So in this tutorial, we're going to create a half pipe, and this is actually a pretty simple design to do a different way, but I'm going to introduce a new method inside SpaceClaim that makes it easy if you have things like pictures of objects and two-dimensional sketches. It's really easy to bring those into SpaceClaim and build off of them. So in this example, this half pipe you can see is about almost 35 feet long. It's about 5 feet high with a 4-foot base or a deck up top. It's got about a 12-foot flat area between the two transition areas with an 8-foot radius. So what we're going to do is bring this image into SpaceClaim and overlay it on top of a block. Instead of designing the whole thing in SpaceClaim, you can see that this object has symmetry right about the middle. So we're actually just going to represent just this one portion of the half pipe. So if you work out the math, you'll see that this base ends up being about 12 feet because we have the 4-foot deck plus an 8-foot radius. So all we need to start is just a brick inside SpaceClaim that's about 12 feet by about 5 feet high, and we're going to go ahead and just choose an arbitrary width for this ramp to be 12 feet as well. So with that, we can just launch SpaceClaim. And we'll just go and create a new design by going to File, selecting New Design. So let's just start with that foundation, and we're already in sketch mode, so we'll just build a rectangle, and we'll drop the first point of the rectangle, and we don't care where the second point is because we're going to adjust it anyway, and we're going to type in 12 FT for feet, 12 FT again, and now we have a brick that we can build off of. So I'll hit escape twice, and now we go into 3D mode, and I can select this brick and then or the square I should say, and go to pull mode. That's already the direction that I want, so we'll just pull it up to 5 feet. And I'll just stop the drag and just type in 5 feet manually. So now all we have to do is bring the image in. I'll hit escape twice so I'm back in select mode. So if I go to insert, I can look for a picture. So in my folder I've got that exact same image that we looked at a minute ago. So I'll bring this in, and now SpaceClaim is trying to sense the face that I want to put this on. So we're not going to worry about the sizing right now. I'll show you in a second how we can do that. I'm just going to select the highlighted face. That's the one that I want. And then we're going to stretch and move this image so that it fits. So now that it's there, if I select that image, you can see over here in my structure tree, that two-dimensional image is recognized. And notice we've got these different handles on the image. So I've got the blue handles in the corners. I can stretch it. I can hold on to the green and rotate. And I believe this is actually panning, or I can move an anchor point and move that image back and forth that way. So there's lots of ways you can get comfortable with how to do this. So we'll just start by let's say if we can just stretch for now. We'll get that side lined up. And let's see. So we'll bring up the top, and every time we stretch it, this image, because of where the where the area of interest is going to, every time we stretch it in one direction, it's going to move in the other. So it just takes a little patience to tweak this. It's also helpful to look at a face-on view. So if I hit the compass down here, I can orient it so that it's a little easier to do that. So let me go back, and if I zoom out, get that top to fit. It's getting pretty close. We'll expand that area out. And it doesn't have to be perfect for this example, but you can see that's pretty close. So just a reminder, our brick was 12 feet long, and that's about what this distance should be. I can probably tweak it just a little bit more to make that transition area line up just a little bit better. And as you zoom in, you can see it's really close. So we'll probably just go with this for now. So we're ready to basically superimpose a drawing on top, or I should say a new sketch on top. So let's go into design mode, and then in design mode we go into sketch mode. It's already sensing the right location for us, or I should say the plane of the sketch. So we're gonna use the spline tool. And again, there's different ways to do this, but we just wanted to show this capability. So as I'm in sketch mode, since there's already a 3D geometry available, SpaceClaim is going to sense that, and that's what this green line is. It's basically looking and assuming that we want to drop this point exactly on top of that line. So we'll make that start point as close as we can. If we zoom in a little bit, I can see that the edge is highlighted. So as soon as I left click, that first point shows up as 0, and now I'm just extending out my spline. So we don't need a lot of points. I'm probably going to do about maybe 5 points or less. So I'll just put that 1 point there. I can grab a point in the middle. And again, a spline is not exactly connecting the dots. It's using a mathematical function to interpolate between these points, and you can always come back and control these points as you've seen in some of the other tutorials. So we're going to zoom in to make sure we get as close as we can. And when it senses that line, let's say that that's good enough. So with that last point, SpaceClaim is still waiting for me to select the next point. But since I know I'm done, I'm just going to hit the escape button 2 times to get back in select mode. And it looks like we have a spline there, even though it's hard to see. So I can turn that off, and you can see there's the spline that we just created, and we basically just copied what we had on the image. If I go into 3D mode, what we were really going for here was that this face now has been divided, and we know that if we use the pull function, we can highlight that face, say pull, and simply just pull it away. So now we've got a perfect replica of the transition that we saw. So since we're using symmetry, or I should say we're exploiting symmetry, we can just mirror this. So we know from the earlier image that the flat was 12 feet. So if we put a symmetry plane that's out at 6 feet, then we ought to be able to just use the mirror and get the other side of the transition. So I'll select plane, and it's asking me to select a reference to create the plane on. So we know we want the plane to be on this face. So there's the plane. Now that the plane is there, actually I didn't want to do that, I just undid. I can move it. So I'll hit escape to go back into select mode. And now I'm just going to move the plane. Click an object, and this is the object to move. When I do that, the anchor shows up in the middle, and I'm okay with that. So I'm just going to grab the blue vector and hold it with my left button and drag it out in the direction that I want. And I know I wanted to go 6 feet, so I'm just going to type in 6 feet directly. And that's the location that I wanted. So now I'm ready to use the mirror function. And if I look over here under the create section, I can select mirror. It's asking me to select the mirror plane. This is the one that I want, and now it wants me to select the body to be mirrored. And before I make a decision, it actually gives me a preview of what's going to happen. So this is pretty straightforward here. So once I click, then I have the body, and you can see I've got 2 separate solids here. So now I really don't need that plane anymore, so I can just turn the visibility off and still leave it there. There's multiple ways to connect this area. This is very simple actually, but we're gonna use another tool here called the blend tool. And the blend tool, you can read up on this. It's actually just trying to blend a surface between curves or edges. So let's select blend, and I'm going to use the control button here. I'm going to select this edge on the top, and now I'm going to hold the control button because I want to select this other edge on top. Make sure you choose the top one and not the bottom one. And you can zoom in. It might make sense to zoom in so you can guarantee that you get that edge and not a surface. And as long as I'm holding control down, you'll notice down here SpaceClaim tells us that it sees 2 edges, and it's also giving us a preview. I haven't hit the check mark yet, but that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted that top surface of the flat area. So I'm going to say OK. I could use the blend function for the bottom and the sides and do the same thing, but instead, now that I have that, I know that I can use the pull function. If I select the flat, I can say pull. It's already pointing in the right direction. So I'm going to say pull up to, and let's just say the bottom of the floor there. And when it does it, notice everything just got combined. So it just put it into one solid, and that's because we didn't toggle on the no merge option. We decided in this case just to go ahead and keep the half pipe as one object. So that's the end of this tutorial.